Hi, I am Kelsey Staler, and I'm here today with model and trans activist Carmen Carrera. She's going to be on Fusion's Outpost, which premieres March 26th, with a really awesome episode where you're in Sao Paulo.
Yes.
And so I thought we could talk a little bit about your new episode.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, can you talk a little bit about sort of the series kind of mixes tourism and activism? So can you kind of talk about what you learned and what your experience was?
Yeah, well, my experience was really limited. Like, we only had like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Basically, yeah. And every day we were visiting trans people from different walks of life. So I didn't really get to have too much of the tourism, but the viewer actually gets to enjoy it. I watched the episode back, and it really gives you sort of like what it would feel like to live in Brazil. You know, you get the city life, then you get, you know, people's private homes, you get the tourist attractions. I actually was able to find, I guess, he was like a vendor or something selling crystals, like from the actual caves in Brazil.
Oh, cool.
So that's something that I took home with me. But more than anything, the experience and the interaction with the people in Brazil was like truly magical.
Yeah. Well, how involved were you with the reporting side versus the interviewing side?
I was pretty hands-on throughout the entire process. I was able to, I stood up really late nights and woke up really early in the day with all the production people. We really had a really good bonding experience. Whenever I go and do projects like these, I try to have an equal understanding of the sensitivity of the subject matter, and also just, I guess, just to be able to tell the story and do justice by the people's side, you know. So it was great. It was great. I got to really take on the role of like telling a story, which I've never done before. You know, I've never done anything like this before. So it was awesome.
And how did you get involved with Outpost and with Fusion?
Well, I was contacted through my agent to go on assignment, and I had already been starting to work my activism within the Latin community. I started off in Mexico. I traveled to 5 or 6 different cities, did like their news channels, and basically brought the issues that was happening within the country like to their mainstream news. I did that also in Colombia. So Brazil was kind of like, I got lucky with Brazil because it wasn't on my radar yet, because I'd like to learn Portuguese so I can go and speak. Like, I'm just learning Spanish now, like to speak it fluently. And that's helped me a lot with my activism work. So I got lucky. They reached out to me. I guess they might have heard what I was doing already in the other countries. And yeah, that's how it got started.
Yeah. Well, in addition to, I think there's some scenes that are, obviously a little more on the happier, lighter side, but there are some sort of sadder statistics that we deal with in this episode, namely the really extremely high crime rates against trans people in Sao Paulo. And in your reporting, did you sort of find any reason why this country has such a hard time with that?
Well, I don't really understand why. I think maybe it's because they themselves are not aware of all of the different things that are happening. You know, I wanted to pull together the political views, the cisgender views, the what the LGBT people, would hope for. There's so much hope, especially the trans community. They're so resilient. They're actually used to dealing with a lot of the discrimination and a lot of the hate crimes. Like, it's something that's normal to them, and that breaks my heart, because it shouldn't be like a normal thing just because you're being who you are to be murdered or assaulted or discriminated against, or just be limited in general to having a really good quality of life. So for me, it was definitely about pulling all those kind of storylines and then putting it into one thing so that they can watch it and become inspired to take a stand for themselves.
Yeah, of course. And just a reminder for those of you who just joined us, we are talking to Carmen Carrera. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will try to add those in as well. Obviously, I think a lot of what the episode deals with is sort of the jobs that are available to trans people in Brazil, and sort of the high rate of people working in the sex trade. What was your experience with sort of receiving that information and learning about those statistics?
Well, I met with one woman. Her name's Leica, and she is an older trans woman who basically, has lived the life and walked the walk, and she's angry. She's really angry because she feels like trans people don't have any options in Brazil, and that was like heartbreaking for me, because I with all these amazing things happening for trans people in mainstream as far as visibility goes, it's really inspiring to those individuals in other parts of the world who don't have it as easy as we have it here, where people are actually interested in what we have to say and they're more open to like understanding our struggle. Out there, it's not the same, So I wanted to definitely kind of shield the next generation of trans people coming through to not have to go through that when they're older. So for me, learning the statistics and then meeting Leica and hearing her story and what she's been through her whole life, and then also learning that the Brazilian government gives programs to transgender people who, in their eyes, will hopefully rethink their life trajectory. So that tells me it's like, okay, so if I rethink my transition, then the government will help me. Like, that doesn't make any sense either. Yeah. So there's just a lot of things that, there's no one really fighting out there for a better life. They're just kind of dealing with what they have. And I'm afraid that in the future, it's going to cause them more pain, Yeah. So that's kind of how I felt. I felt instantly like I need to save them. I don't know if that's possible, but it's like I want to so bad because I never realized how privileged I was, even to be able to walk down to Starbucks and, have a coffee and have a friendly interaction. And that's what a lot of these people in Brazil are missing out on, just a friendly hello, just a feeling of belonging. They're not able to really find any love, The only validation that they get are from each other, and that's great to have a support system, but what about an amazing life after that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's something that you really touch on in the episode was sort of the moments in which you really sort of felt your privilege, which I think is just very interesting considering a lot of the efforts that are going on in the U.S. right now to sort of bring that equality. What is that difference like for you? Seeing how much worse it can get in another country.
It's scary because I could have been, born in South America. My parents came from South America. I could have been that person. I am thankful to God and everyone involved in, helping me achieve my dreams, but I kind of feel like a responsibility as well. I'm a very humble person. I come from extremely humble beginnings. So for me to see someone who I can relate to on a friendly basis go through something that I feel they shouldn't have to go through, it just like makes me feel like, wow, I know I'm truly blessed, but I want to pass on that blessing too. So I don't know what that word is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is, but that's how it makes me feel.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and there's, obviously the very moving conversation during the episode with Sophia.
Oh, yeah, Sophia. Yeah, she's good.
And for the viewers who haven't yet seen the episode, Sophia is a young trans woman, and she goes by her birth name with her family, which is Lucas.
She lives like on both sides. So, in her life, she is a boy at home just to please her family. But when she goes out, she changes in the middle of the street. She's self-medicating on, whatever happens. She's kind of blindly putting herself at risk, for a lot. And I wanted to pass on a little bit of knowledge for her as well. Like, it's your parents' job to love you. Like, I really believe in that. And sometimes you have to like hold your parents accountable. Like, I know maybe it's like disrespectful to some, but there at times, especially when you're struggling, sometimes you kind of forget, and you have to come back to that love. And have that bond with your family, or at least try. Like, not everyone, it's not going to be easy for everyone, but if you try and you bring up how high the statistics are for trans people in Brazil, I'm pretty sure that your parents gonna like want to be there for you. I don't know. Yeah, because sometimes that's not what they think. They're so used to being on their own. They're so used to having to fight on their own that they don't take a second to say, hey, I deserve to be loved. And, who else's love, is better than my mom or my dad or my sister or my aunt or my grandmother or whoever, because that for me is like a forever thing. They're always going to be your family. So it's worth the investment to work on the love of your family, especially when you can get killed just for being who you are.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like it's, it's obviously very scary statistics working there. Was it difficult to find a young woman who was willing to go on camera and talk about her life in that way?
No, not really. I feel like, most people in Brazil, they want better. They do. Some of them don't know that they can have better, which is where the problem lies. But there are those individuals out there that just don't know how to help, or just don't know. They know they deserve better, they want better, but they don't know how to. So as far as casting goes, like, we were really lucky to find people who are willing to share their story, especially go on camera, to know that it's going to be seen by many, many, many people. So we got lucky in that department. We had tons of people that wanted to meet me and wanted to be on camera and have a great time. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I really like the moment too when you guys are with the theater troupe. And since it's such a brief moment, I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about that experience and meeting her friends and sort of how they support her.
Yeah, well, it was awesome to see that Sophia, can express herself with theater. She brought me into her group and they performed like a ceremonial sort of dance for me. And like, I felt like I was being blessed by like the gods, like something cool. Because I mean, who gets to go to Brazil and get like a private dance in the middle of like, God knows where that we were. It was just amazing. And, I felt that they really cared for her individuality, which is another really rare thing to find for anyone, in any group or any setting, to have people that appreciate you for you and want to see you blossom and grow. It's truly amazing. So to be accepted and to be welcomed, to have like a little dance party, it was dope. Like I got really lucky on this trip. I was exhausted, but I got so lucky. Yeah. Well,
it sounds like in 3 days you had a lot of experience packed in there.
A ton. I was so exhausted that whole time, but I stuck to a really good diet, and I tried my best to like work out the best that I can. But it was a lot to take in 3 days, and I'm happy with the project and how it all turned out.
Yeah. Well, aside from meeting Sophia, was there another moment in that experience that really felt like, I'm making a difference? This is really important that I'm here.
Yeah, I would say like watching it back and being able to promote it on my social, like reading all the messages from people in Brazil who do not participate in the Gay Pride celebration, who, are living closeted lives. Now they can see that there's more potential than just, what's available to them because I put it in perspective. And that for me was like the most rewarding thing to take away from it, because that was my goal, is to not just go out there and have a blast. Like, it's actually to report on the issues, what can be done, what are the options, and what happens next. So that was like, it was like mission accomplished for me, and I'm happy because when you go into these projects and, you have a dream or a vision, I don't work on the creative side, I'm on the talent side. So it's different when it goes into editing and when the story is being told. And I'm really happy with the entire production team. Pharrell Williams was actually one of the executive producers. So I'm happy that he was on board with this. And yeah, I'm really thankful.
It turned out really, really amazing.
Yeah, it's great. I can't wait. I can't wait for everyone else to be able to see it this weekend.
Check it out, seriously. Obviously, we've touched on a few of the more upsetting things that we learned. I think.
Sorry to break your vibe.
No, it's important to talk about these things. And you talk about next steps. So
yes.
What are the next steps? What are the things that you want to see change in this community?
Okay. Well, first we have to be able to take a stand for ourselves. We have to be able to be informed. We have to be able to be educated, and then we have to think creatively about what's going to be the next couple of steps. I've already decided here in the United States that focusing on K through 12 school is like super important on education. So I'm actually teaming up with a group in Boston, and it's called HUE. And what we're doing is we're going to develop a curriculum for the teachers to teach the students about LGBTQ history. So that will start the conversation within school. It'll hopefully break the stigma, and it'll also educate those individuals within our community that are in school right now, like just feel some empowered, just to know that we have history and we've been fighting for this for a really long time, and they are the future. So I really think that the focus on education is most important.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of, obviously talk. I think some people want to be allies. People want to have these conversations.
Right.
And a lot of times the conversation sort of stems towards, I guess, policing behavior of trans people. How do you
Okay.
feel about when people, try to say, well, you should behave this way and things will be fine?
Well, see, people do this to me all the time. So, and I understand. I'm always so like on the middle with understanding. It's like, we can't take things too personal if someone's trying to police our behavior or our language. We should take it as they're trying to understand us, and this is the only way that they will. So instead of being like overtly like demanding or dismissive, even, we should try to just take a step back and to understand that communication is really important. And most of us have been through a very, very like damaging past. It's not the whole trans community, but it's many of us. And, I've seen it myself, even going through my steps in my transition and where I came from and the people who mentored me. I learned that sometimes, yes, we do have to take a step back and understand the language, but also we should also be respected by others as well for who we are and how far we've come. Because not many people understand. A lot of people come from a place of their own privilege to where, they live a life that, they're comfortable in the body, they're comfortable with the gender assigned at their birth, they're happy living that life, and that's all they know. So when they hear about someone else's struggle, and it doesn't necessarily make sense to them, they tend to be dismissive, and that's what I feel like kind of disrespectful. But I think we have to work together. We all exist here at the very same moment in time, and it's like, why pick out each other's differences? Let's just get along the best we can, because we're just living to die. I mean, realistically, so I don't want to like break the mood, but it's true. Like we have a lot of people who are suffering on this planet, and if we can just help out just a little bit, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And sort of on that same note of working together and being allies,
yes.
What when someone says, I want to be an ally to the trans community, what do you want them in an ideal world to be doing, especially right now in 2017?
Oh, sure. I think that understanding us is very important. If you want to be an ally, you should definitely understand where, what we've been through, and, lend us, some of your lessons as well in life. A lot of the times, many trans people live, in the shadows, and they don't get to have, just the smallest bit of enjoyment in their day because they're so fearful of, either being attacked or being rejected. We need a lot of love in our community, and it starts with women accepting trans women as women, and men the same thing, accepting trans men as men, and there has to be some type of like teamwork. But it first starts off with understanding. I think understanding and maybe a little bit of guidance too.
Yeah, of course. And turning a little bit to your work personally,
yes.
What do you most hope to accomplish with the influence that you have and the access that you have and the privilege that you spoke about earlier?
What do I plan to accomplish?
What do you hope to? What's your goal?
My goal, I want to be like a commercially accepted model. Like, being trans, obviously I'm a trans model, but I just want to be a model. I just want to like sell great clothes and beautiful makeup. And, a lot of the companies that have worked with me so far, like I did a campaign for Target. I worked with Ty Hunter on his collaboration with 602 and Foot Locker. So I'm trying my best, but there's still a lot of fear with these large companies, that they're afraid to book a model that's trans because of whatever reason that they have. So that's really my goal, is to be able to do that, and then also be able to thrive as an actress playing cisgender roles, and transgender roles. Like I see the world as a huge opportunity for me to grow, and there's going to be a lot of no's, but there might be one or two yeses, and that's good enough for me. I just want to be able to work, be successful, and continue to live my life after my transition. I don't want to continuously be defined as like the trans person, like I want to be able to be like more than that. I have more to offer, so I want to show the world.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I hope the world catches up.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I have a pretty good following, and I have a lot of supporters that write to me every day and tell me like to never give up because they believe in me. So that's huge. It's just all about the right opportunity, and something big is coming. It's already in the works. I'm working on something else. I can't talk about it, but just stay tuned. Stay tuned.
We will.
Yeah.
And everyone, remember to check out the episode of Outpost, which premieres on March 26th. Thank you so much, Carmen, for being here.
Thank you,
and
guys.
for speaking so candidly.
Of course.
And check out the trailer for Outpost, guys.
I went through my transition from male to female, and I'm a transgender woman.
Hey, don't cheat!
It's gonna be absolutely amazing.